In this module, I'm going to talk about the most important thing you as a manager can do, specifically coaching the individuals on your team into a team and getting each of those people to optimize his or her performance. As a coach, you'll enjoy your job better and your employees will enjoy better success. In the next 20 or 25 minutes, you're going to learn the impact of coaching on your bottom line and your top line, the impact of coaching on your employees, your fellow managers, and the owners of your business. Most importantly, I hope to impress upon you why you must coach. I'm going to share with you how to coach, and I encourage you to launch coaching immediately. Please recall what we talked about in the introduction to this course. Six Sigma is made up of 5 metrics, and those metrics are critical to the success of your sales team. I'm going to show you how to enjoy coaching your team members to optimize their performance in each of those metrics. Six Sigma therefore becomes very easy for you to implement, but most importantly, it brings with it a level of accountability. If you're not holding your team accountable for the quantity and quality of work that they produce, then you can't hold them accountable for the results that their work produces. Let me repeat that. Many managers hold their people accountable for the results, but tragically, the manager can't tell if the customers are buying better than the salespeople are selling, or the salespeople are selling better than the customers. Without metrics and without managing those metrics, the quantity and quality of activity, you can't predict your success both in the end of a quarter and the end of a year. With it, success becomes very predictable. The 5 levers that we're going to speak to are: number 1, the number of first meetings undertaken by your team. Number 2, the dollars per deal that your team quotes. The number 3, the closing ratio. Improving the ratio gives a better return on your effort for both salespeople and sales managers. Number 4, the length of your sales cycle. Shorten the sales cycle, as I said in selling time, shorten the sales cycle, and you can get more cycles per month, per quarter, or per year. A small reduction in the number of hours it takes to take a suspect from "hi, how you doing" to "thanks for the transaction" will have a huge improvement in the total number of transactions that you can do in the course of a year. Number 5 is the available selling time. You must be able to optimize the selling time available to your team. And in my experience, many managers inadvertently reduce selling time. Please recall there's only 173.5 hours of sales time available to your team per calendar month. Anything that is done that reduces that time reduces in direct mathematic proportion their ability to produce revenue. As you know, my passion is flying airplanes, and I believe that a flight instructor is very much a coach. The flight instructor is there to help men and women learn how to fly. They are there to help people move from where they are to where they want to be. But very much like a sales manager, that flight instructor may have to overcome some fear or some beliefs that are keeping the employee, i.e. in this case, the student pilot, from achieving his or her goals. Coaching is a learnable skill, so we're going to learn it. I'm going to talk about the process of coaching, the do's and don'ts associated with being a successful coach, when to coach, where to coach, and how to coach your team to optimize their production. All of those things are critical. But let me start by asking you a couple of questions, and I'd like you to reflect on this. Are you a coach, a cheerleader, or a drill instructor? A coach, as I said a moment ago, helps people get from where they are to where they want to be. A cheerleader is that classic motivator. Let's sell more. Let's sell smarter. Let's sell tougher. We have to make more calls. The problem with cheerleading is it's awfully hard to translate cheerleading into activities or actions that we can take next week. The drill instructor is the manager who barks orders and hopes for compliance. The worst kind of manager is a spectator. The drill instructor is bad, but the spectator is even worse. That's the manager that watches disaster after disaster happen, and that's the manager that blames the team for a failure. He or she never gets the results they want because they're always pursuing excuses, and we don't want to have that happen too often. Now let me ask you another question. Who was or is your best coach? Every one of us has had a coach in our life. Could have been a parent, a school teacher, mentor, could have been a coach of an athletic activity. Who was your best coach and who was your worst, and what made him or her the best or worst? The behavior that they manifested is the behavior that I'd like you to emulate if they were the best as you coach your people. Remember, your people will respond best when they know that you genuinely care. The worst coach is the man or woman who doesn't exhibit that feeling of caring for the sales team or the individuals that they're managing. A question that you should ask each of your people as you start the coaching process is, if you keep doing what you're doing, what will you look like at the end of the year? If you're underperforming now, will you underperform at the end of the year? And how will that impact your income, your commissions, your bonuses, and the team's revenue and profit? You see, it's important that you get buy-in from your salespeople as early in the coaching process as possible, because I believe the best coaches are the men and women that help salespeople achieve their goals. Conversely, if you don't know what their goals are or why they get out of bed every day, and I'm going to talk about that in just a moment, then inadvertently you are not spending time helping them achieve their goals. Coaching improves the engagement. And some studies show that less than 80% of all employees are fully engaged. Now, these are the men and women that show up every day, and they certainly are cooperative, polite, and professional, but at 5 o'clock they're out the door. They always find a way to get the minimum done to get by. I've nicknamed those people Mr. or Ms. Minimum. Now, the minimum may be acceptable, but I'd like to go for optimum production, optimum results, and that only occurs when you have good coaching in place. And keep in mind that good salespeople are leaving companies every day because of a bad manager, not because of a bad company. We're going to talk about coaching in the field, coaching in the office, and coaching day in and day out. Most importantly, there are times when you're going to have to coach to a performance improvement plan. This is a plan that you have to put in place to address the fact that somebody is underperforming at such a bad level that they may not be employable by your company in the near future. Hopefully by now you're starting to get the understanding that coaching will improve morale, it will improve engagement, it will improve productivity, will give you peace of mind and your salespeople peace of mind, but most importantly, it will avoid the $600,000 hiring mistake. You see, as I said one or two slides back, good salespeople are leaving companies because of bad managers. The manager who coaches is almost inevitably viewed as a better manager than the drill instructor, is almost inevitably viewed as a better manager than the cheerleader, and absolutely viewed as a better manager than the spectator. Our job is to help our people get to where they want to go, and in doing so, you'll avoid that $600,000 hiring mistake that so many companies make. They hire good people, they coach them badly, that good salesperson leaves, but the cost to the company of that process is $600,000 in terms of lost revenue as well as hard dollars out of the pocket. Without metrics in place, you can't coach. You can only be a cheerleader. Metrics would be the number of first meetings, the number of meaningful conversations, the number of deals and dollars added to the funnel, the number of names added to the CRM system. You see, I believe in breaking down the sales process into KPIs, which are easily understood by the salesperson and by the manager, and your job is to coach your people to meet or exceed those KPIs as frequently as possible. And one of my passions is documenting the process. You can't coach without a guidebook or a playbook that tells your salespeople what you want them to do, how you want them to do it, and in what frequency and in what sequence. You see, failure to do that basically says you have to say, go get them, Bubba or Bubette, and hope that they can translate that into a meaningful activity. Now, I'd like to share a word of caution with you, and I've made this mistake many times in the decades that I've been a sales manager and the 40 plus years that I've been an independent sales coach and consultant. You can't make an adult want to make more money than they want to make. And I can't tell you how many times clients have said words like, man, if I worked for myself, I'd be making $500,000 a year. But you see, the comp plan is benefiting the psyche of the owner or the manager. It's not benefiting the salesperson. I'm amazed as I really do a deep dive into the income requirements of salespeople, especially when I'm recruiting for clients, at the fact that there are a lot of people that are very comfortable financially living at a level that I would not be comfortable at. My fault for projecting myself on them. Another component that we can't verify is that if the applicant or your employee, once they're hired, is married, we may not know what lifestyle they're living because we may not know what the spouse makes. So I've had many clients tell me scenarios such as one that I encountered recently. We went to one of our clients' salespeople who hadn't sold much at all in the past 6 months. And in the course of coaching him, I found out that he was very happy making no commissions. You heard me. He was happy making no commissions and no bonuses because his wife made $300,000 a year. So as a household, they were extremely comfortable in the town that they were living in. So my client had been encouraging him to make more money, and he was saying, why? Not overtly, but subconsciously. So we get to the second big question is, can they do the job? Will they do the job the way you want them to do the job? At the end of the day, you have to make that decision. But don't start coaching somebody that can't do the job. If they can't do the job, I believe we owe them training. If they won't do the job, then we owe them an opportunity to remarket their resume and move along to some other company. But at the end of the day, they have to want to do the job, they must be able to do the job, and more importantly, they must be able to do the job the way you want them to do the job. So we're going to go through the can-do, will-do questions, but I'd also like you to look at what's prompting you to want to coach this individual. Has he or she gone through some life changes recently? Has there been a problem that's been long-lasting, such as perhaps a illness with a member of their family? Who knows what it may be? But you have to be aware, especially if this person was a good producer and now they're subpar, that something has happened. And you should have a relationship where you and that individual are comfortable enough talking about these issues to be able to move forward through that. Now, when you start coaching all of your people, and remember, we're going to coach them one at a time, but when you start coaching an employee, I want you to define what you'd like to see coming out of the coaching activity. Do you want them to sell more, to be a better employee, a better citizen within your company, have a better attitude? You have to define what the goal is of this program. But as I said a moment or two ago, it's really important for you to understand why they get out of bed. And I'm using a little bit of slang when I say that, but there are a lot of people that just want a job, which means pay me enough to stay just over broke. I need you as the manager to know what their personal goals are. When I managed IBM's office in Chicago, I discovered completely by accident that when I positioned my role as the manager as being someone who's helping each of the 26 people that were in our office achieve their goals, they bonded with me. So with one salesperson, I was helping him earn enough bonus money to buy a sales boat. With another one, I was helping her earn enough money to pay tuition for her children to go to a private school. With a third, it was earn enough money to build a cabin out in the woods. Everybody gets out of bed for different reasons, and as the manager, if you don't know what that reason is, it's awfully hard for you to position yourself as a coach, and more often you're viewed as a drill instructor, someone who's giving orders but not passing them on to the team. Sales process issues could be one of the issues. And I recommend that you use our time and task analysis, it's in your manager's toolkit, to determine what the individual is doing in terms of their time utilization. Without having a good understanding of that, you really could coach them to fix the wrong problem, and that's counterproductive for both you and them. What are the conversion ratios of leads to sales? How many dollars are they putting into the deals, and are they discounting prematurely? What's their follow-up look like? What kind of organizational skills do they manifest? And in all situations, again, ask the question, if you keep doing what you're doing, what will you look like at the end of the year? Now, one of the metrics, indeed a vital metric, is the number of first meetings. Simply stated, if a salesperson conducts 0 first meetings, then any first order they'll get will be a function of luck. And we can't bet on luck, nor can we count on it. Okay, no first orders will come about. So part of your coaching should be to take a look at how many first meetings are in the calendars of your salespeople. And remember our 3X rule. We want 3 times the number of desired transactions in the funnel at all times. So if the goal for an individual is 100 transactions per year, he or she must maintain a sales funnel or pipeline that is at least 300 qualified opportunities. This is a metric that's pretty easy to coach to because it's cut and dry. Are the meetings in the calendar or aren't they? If they're not, then you will have some opportunity to help coach and build a strategy to help that employee get those meetings that we want them to have. The next metric to look at is the length of the sales cycle. Frequently, salespeople prolong the cycle unintentionally, I guess is the best way to phrase it. They will let the customers get back to them. They don't have a sense of urgency. They don't practice the discipline of always booking a follow-up call, follow-up meeting, follow-up activity at the conclusion of every activity. Coach your salespeople to keep that process flowing. So whenever they hang up the phone, there should be a follow-up action in the calendar for them to pursue. A lot of salespeople, especially marginal salespeople, will discount because they confuse lowering their price with gaining a friend. And they assume a friend will do business with them, when in my experience, that's anything but the truth. Your salesperson must be able to articulate the unique value of the results that your team produces for a customer. The best way for you to inspect that is to ask your salesperson to give you a presentation as if you were a customer. Now, if they say, here's how I like to do it, why don't you tell them, time out, you misunderstood me. I don't want you to tell me how you do it. I'd like you to go ahead and do it for me. That's important for you to see the actual performance. And that applies to phone meetings, Zoom meetings, and or face-to-face meetings. Always take a look at the belief systems of your salespeople. There are people who will always follow their beliefs. If they believe your pricing is too high, and believe it or not, I've seen that many times, and they will inadvertently and subconsciously avoid offering full price to their customer. They will always lead with cheap is the best way to go. So instead of the $10,000 configuration, they'll offer the $7,000 or worse. If they have a hang-up or a belief about pricing, you can coach them to show them the results and help them quantify in terms of dollars and cents the results that a relationship with your company produces for its customers. Do you save money? Do you save time, which can be money? Do you help them gain market share? What results do you produce for your customers that have value? The conversion percentage is a vital metric that has to be coached by looking at the win-loss postponed trend, and that's a document in your toolkit. Why are you winning, why are you losing, and why are you postponing? You'll find that many salespeople don't know why they win. They're just glad they got an order, and I understand that. But I want them to know why they win, why they lose, and why opportunities are postponed. You see, in my book, once an opportunity is forecasted, it's in the funnel, going through the funnel, then only one of 3 things can happen. You win it, you lose it, or it's postponed. What opportunities have been abandoned? Why do we abandon opportunities? I believe that fortune is in the follow-up, and you must be sure that your team always schedules follow-up appointments, and you can do that by inspecting their CRM system. Just take a look at their calendar and see how many follow-up appointments, tasks, and activities have been scheduled. Selling time is one of the most important metrics for you to coach on. You can be amazed at the impact on your salespeople by having them recapture a few minutes of sales time per day. A few years ago, the United States Navy published a study that showed that 20 minutes per day of work time that is wasted or missed will equate to 2 months of wasted time per year. Translating that into our sales world, 20 minutes per day is the equivalent of 2 more months of sales activity per calendar year. The question to deliver to your salespeople and for you is, what would happen to your revenue were we to capture 2 more months of revenue at your current conversion rate per calendar year? I think everyone would agree that that will help your top line. You may consider testing for both behavior and skills before you start a coaching program, especially if it's going to lead to the consequence of termination. There are some people that were mishired, or they were hired for the job that existed in the past, but as the industry has changed or the products have changed, their DNA is no longer compatible with your current situation. Make sure that your person has the DNA and the behavior that is a good fit for the job. Sales skills knowledge can always be improved, and you'll be amazed at how much improvement is available even for senior reps when you put them through a sales skills test. You see, many people lose their skills because, like any human skill, if we don't practice it regularly, it will retard. And when I say practice, I'm not talking about going out and seeing customers. I am talking about practicing presentations in your office, in your sales meetings, and I talk about that in length in the chapter on conducting good sales meetings. Again, you can't coach effectively if you don't know why they are working. Why did they get out of bed? You can't coach effectively if you don't know what their goals are and what their work-life balance is like. Do they have problems at home that they're bringing into the market? And most importantly, and this is one of the biggest messages from Six Sigma selling, if you don't have a sales process in place, a tangible playbook that your people can refer to, then all you can do is be a cheerleader, and that becomes very tenuous and bad for you and your salesperson. In your toolkit, I have a document called the Coach's Checklist. Before you start coaching someone, make sure that you use that because it assures fairness and consistency and will help you score all of the activity. So now let's move into actually coaching the person. Remember the flight instructor technique. You want to take them and understand that there may be some apprehension, perhaps fear, of the next activity, but let them know that you're flying with them, quotes around that, side by side, to help them achieve their goals. Use a system on tag team calls to let them know when you're going to take over the call and when you'd like them to take over the call. One of the things I do is I will meet with the salesperson before the call, and I'll say, when the pin that I put on the desk is pointed to you, I'd like you to talk. When I point the pin back to myself, I'll take over the call. And that gives some structure to the activity. The same works if your sales rep is working over the phone, if they're working over remote, virtually, or face-to-face. Now, after you've observed the call, please practice the sandwich technique for providing feedback. The sandwich technique is very simple. Very much like a good sandwich, you've got the meat in between 2 slices of bread. So give them some good news. They made a good presentation. They opened the meeting very well. They recapped previous conversations very well. Remember, nobody does everything wrong. They always do something well on every call. Find that something and open the debrief with that some activity that you felt was okay or very good. Then provide them with improvement suggestions, and then close out that segment of the debrief with some more good news. So good news, suggestion, good news, and repeat. Do this point by point. Never criticize the person, criticize the performance, maybe. In some cases, you may have to share consequences. If you don't improve within the next X days on this issue, then your employment will be terminated. This is an entirely different presentation, and I cover it in detail in the chapter on managing marginal employees. But consequences are, when added to coaching, make this a very stressful relationship for you and your employee. In your debrief, show them that you were involved and listen for their reaction. Now, many salespeople will object to this coaching activity. They'll say, no, you didn't see that right, or you didn't hear that right, or I didn't do that, or I didn't say that. If they reject your suggestion that coaching could help them, then we have an issue that we need to deal with that goes beyond pure coaching. Never criticize the person, only the behavior, and never criticize anybody in public. Describe an action plan to help them get past this. And this is why I love metrics. So your salesperson is not selling enough, they're not achieving enough first meetings. The action plan would be for him or her to start an emailing campaign, or the action plan would be to start a daily cold calling. So every day from 9 to 9:45, you're going to pick up the phone and talk to at least 10 people per day to book appointments. Set some action plan, get their agreement that when that action plan is successfully accomplished, they will improve in the area of performance that you're coaching them on. Make your plan smart, specific, measurable, achievable, results-oriented, and time-gated. If you don't have a SMART plan, then you're inclined to say things like, I need you to make more first meetings. Well, duh, no kidding. But how do I make more first meetings? And is that 5 first meetings per day or 500? And I'm being facetious, obviously, but I want you to be pretty specific and nail it down. Now, I hope your employee will agree that coaching and an action plan, as you've described it, will help him or her improve in the area that you're focusing on. Again, if they reject the idea that they need to improve, then you've got an entirely different kettle of fish on your hands, and we have to deal with that in the module on managing that marginal performer. But assuming they go along with it and they want to improve, help them take care of one issue at a time with an action plan per issue. Don't try to fix everything all at once, because that can become overwhelming. Remember, I hope by now, you've positioned yourself as someone who's going to help them achieve their goals, whether it be a new house, a new car, more money, a recognition, a promotion, whatever it may be. You need to know what it is, and you need to help them achieve their goal. They want a partner, they don't want a boss. So when you're coaching them, make sure they understand that you are partnering with them to help them achieve your goal. Now, if you start coaching and you drop the ball, then you have wasted all of your energy, and candidly, you're jeopardizing your credibility with your team. So if you don't have time to do the extra work that coaching calls for, don't start a coaching program. You have to free some of that work off of your shoulders and put it somewhere else to get time to coach people. Again, coaching is the most important thing you can do, and all too often, we aren't coaching our people properly, and that becomes a challenge. Once you start, you have to be consistent and go all the way through to the end. I encourage you to document every meeting that you complete with every employee in order to get through the process in pretty good shape. If you don't document it, what may happen, especially if consequences are part of the potential, is the employee will say, I didn't know, or you didn't say that, or that's not what I heard. So I like to document the meeting and copy the employee on the documentation in the memo, and then I put a copy of the memo into a file, and that way it keeps both of us on the same page. Now, don't try to coach based on what worked for you way back when. You know, back in my day, here's how we did it. You have to recognize that your day, regardless of how long ago, is gone. And there's a new reality, a new market, new competition, new feelings, and your employees don't have the same life experiences that you had when you were a younger salesperson. So coach to today's needs, not based on the way you did what you did in the past. Make sure that you aren't asking your people to do something that you can't do, and never ignore the benefit of coaching. If you don't coach, attrition will go up. If you don't coach, performance will go down. If you don't coach, you'll get sales surprises. Surprise, we didn't make goal this month. If you don't coach, you'll have low morale and you'll miss your goals. So I've talked a lot about coaching here. I think it's vital for you to take a moment and type into the system 3 things that you will continue to do, 3 things that you'll stop doing, and 3 things that you'll start doing. I hope this has been beneficial, and as always, I wish you good luck and good selling. Go out and sell somebody something. This is Gil Cargill. Have a great day.